kept pushing on, but then you went too far. When your ship has sailed and all your dreams are lost, everything is wrong, you feel like it's your fault. Just remember, I will be there for you, baby. Remember, there's nothing out there to get you, don't forget it. When life throws lemons, just call me. Just call me. Just call me. Just call me. You're stronger now than you ever been. You gotta leave now, it's time to catch the wind. You will climb up high and look through the clouds. And when you're feeling low, I know you'll bounce back. Oh, and just remember, I will be there for you, baby. Remember, there's nothing out there to get you, don't forget it. When life throws lemons, just call me. Just call me. Just call me. Just call me.
Behöver du en bil? Mobbe hyrbilar finns på över 150 platser i landet och vi har nästan lika många modeller att välja på. Mobbe hyrbilar. Hyrbilar som passar dig.
The first half of this season has been full of entertainment, from the new circuit at VIR to Road America last week at a dominating performance. But here tonight we end the first half of the season with a 2-hour endurance race from the home of the 12 hours, Sebring International Raceway here in Sebring, Florida. Good evening, everybody. My name is Frank Marchese. Thank you very much for making us a part of your evening. Alongside me, my broadcast partner, Zach Woods, joining me here today. Tony's still a little under the weather. Zach, thank you very much for coming on board with us. And from what I heard, you have a lot of knowledge with not just this car, but this track as well. All 12 hours of all 30 minutes of ownership with both things.
Absolutely, Frank, and I'm excited to dive right in here with you. 2 hours of great racing here, and I don't know anything about this track. I don't know anything about these cars, and according to this league, they love our broadcasts because we struggle. And man, are you guys in for a treat, because I am driving that struggle bus today.
Yeah, you're going to see one of us too. Well, we're both going to struggle at points here tonight, but still, it's going to be a fun race here today. As we get going into tonight's race, we didn't really get a chance to take a look at the points coming out of Virginia International Raceway, the opening round of the season. So we'll take a look at those points now as they come up. Alexander Olsen, those points are not correct. See, this is what happens when you leave yourself a half hour to do 20 minutes worth of work. Let's see if this works here. There they go. Those are the right ones. Daniel Holmer, now your current points leader by 3 points over Alexander Olsen. Jonas Gunnarsson having a very good run last week, a second-place finish at Road America last week, getting himself up close as well. Melvin Atkinson there as well, still very, very close, and with such a short season, only 6 races, there is not a lot of time to recover if a mistake is made.
Yeah, absolutely. So a 2-hour race here today, and you have to be on the ball when it comes to managing your equipment and figuring out this track. And if you have a bad day, it could spell long-term ramifications for you because you do not have a ton of races to make that gap up.
This is a very historic racetrack with a lot of history surrounding it. It was an old Air Force base. The long back straightaway at the bottom of this racetrack was an old runway, home of a 12-hour endurance race, the big 12-hour endurance race here. Of course, when you think of road course racing in America, the Rolex 24 at Daytona is certainly one you think of, in the first one that comes to mind. But the Sebring 12 is right up there with as far as prestige and races that you absolutely want to win.
Yeah, absolutely. And so here at Sebring International Raceway, Frank, if you could take this track and say put it in a room name, what room name would you call Sebring International Raceway?
It should be the same room name that's in the file there, bud. I'll say.
Oh,
if anything,
I just had to. It just needed a click on that room name, and it refreshed right in front of me. So happy to dabble in hypotheticals with you.
That was very, very slick. I'll give you that one.
I try.
As we get going into the qualifying session here, 10-minute qualifying. Michael Haflidason in the number 81 is one of the first drivers out on track. Victor Hammerstrom, Lucas Holmer, Pontus Nordgren, a bunch of guys now starting to roll off to get onto the racetrack. And again, as we had mentioned, Sam Hammarstedt was not here for the opener, had not signed up for the league in time, won by 55 seconds at Road America last time out 2 weeks ago, is not here tonight, and the times up at the front during practice were very, very close. This is going to be a very competitive race all throughout the 2 hours.
Yeah, really excited for that here. And at this racetrack, you certainly have a number of passing opportunities to make things happen. So, of course, a good qualifying run will help out early on. But excited to see who are the comers and goers here in this league. And, of course, with aforementioned driver being out, it's anybody's game now.
We have all but 5 drivers out on track right now. Sebastian Magnussen, Marcus Stiller, Daniel Holmer, the only drivers that have not yet rolled out onto the racing surface. Marcus Hagman has come back in. Now Stiller and most of those guys have gone out on track. So right now it is just Magnussen and Hagman, the only 2 that have not gone out onto the track. Take a ride along here on this first lap with Michael Haflidason. It's not the furthest one along, but man, this is one heck of a challenging racetrack. Final corner, flat sweeper, trying to get as wide as he can here to get his top speed up for this long straightaway on his opening qualifying lap. Very, very bumpy down here through the first sector. Sweeping left-hander coming. Got to carry a lot of speed, have a lot of commitment, because now we're starting to get into the narrow stuff. Turn 2, that little right-handed kink there. Turn 3, that's one aspect of this racetrack these guys are going to have to get used to tonight. These curbs are very, very high. Don't want to be running over those. They could throw you around. Big sweeping right-hander here, coming down to one of the big passing zones on the racetrack. Heavy, heavy braking zone. All the way down to first gear, right-hander. As now we start to weave through the middle portion of this racetrack. And again, it wasn't for Season 2, it was for the Season 1 update that this racetrack got a big overhaul. So these corners and track surface may look and feel a lot different to these drivers from what they're used to, as the profile of this corner has certainly changed. It's a little bit flatter in entry into that corner, and now we start to get back onto the runways here at Sebring International, starting to weave left, heavy braking zone. This right-hander is a lot tighter than it may look, and then swinging out wide here to get onto the long straightaway here at the bottom of this racetrack, and then taking that big sweeping right-hander to get back onto the main straightaway, and that is a lap around the Sebring International Raceway. See, not nearly as wide, tucking it in, but boy, oh boy, these guys are going to be having to deal with bumps all race long, especially in that final corner that's going to upset the delicate aero balance of these Dallara P217s.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, it's all well and good now during qualifying where you're all by yourself and there's nobody else in front of you. But Frank, those racing lines are going to change dramatically when you have folks around you vying for those positions. You might not have the option to hang it out wide and extend those straightaways. You're going to have to adjust. And when you do that, you might find more bumps that were at one point not explored by these drivers in practice.
Couple guys getting some big laps in right now. Jesper Eriksson, you're seeing him on track right now. Fastest of all so far in the qualifying session by a little bit over a tenth and a half. Eriksson running for Forza Esports. Current points leader on the Cup side, which we will see back in action. First race of the playoffs for them next week on the Cup side.
Yeah, Eriksson looking really quick right now here in just general overall practice. You kind of have to wonder, with this being an endurance race, what is his long-term speed going to look like? Definitely has the short stuff figured out.
Just a little bit more than halfway through qualifying right now. Ooh, big wiggle as he jumps up on one of the curbs. Getting back onto the long straightaway, and then that's going to be something these guys are going to be fighting all night. Pushing a little bit wide there, trying to get as much speed as they can for this long straightaway, pushing off into the grass, completely killing their momentum down this long straightaway.
Yeah, and when that happens, you can lose more than one spot, right? Where, as you mentioned earlier, this field is really close on time. A simple mistake like that could cost you 3 or 4 spots here, depending on where it happens on the racetrack.
And Eriksson's going to call it after that. We'll take a look at the 019 of Philip Axelsson. 8th quickest on his first flying lap attempt. Not able to better his second lap time. Linus Broström. Oh, on the runway, and that's what we were talking about. Cannot get on those curbs. That'll really upset the balance of this race car. And Linus Broström just found out firsthand.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's very different from anything I've been able to see before, because in other disciplines of racing, those curbs are your friend. They're breaking points for you, and they're often markers for drivers to hit and then carry on with your lap. But not in these vehicles. It tends to upset the balance of the car, and you often rely on how planted your vehicle is on the racetrack. That's not the case when you're going over these bumps.
No, it hasn't been. Especially with, and it's down to aerodynamics, because these cars create a lot of ground effect and a lot of ground force. So to upset that seal and to break that downforce coming up from under the car, it's not good. As Marcus Hagman, who we're seeing on screen right now, going through the final corner, 17th quickest on his first lap. You can see a couple sectors there where he's gone faster overall.
That bump there was huge, and managed to keep the car underneath him as he gets across the line. Still 17th.
Yeah, that was not a good finishing of that lap for him, as we see Marcus Stiller right now the slowest of the drivers that have taken time. If this is your first time joining us or broadcasting with us for this series, just in the case of Formula One, qualifying does not end right at the 10-minute mark. If you're on a lap, you can complete it. Marcus Stiller getting out way wide there and then clipping the grass. Again, something you're going to see all night, and another hard hit to that inside wall. Trying to push for every little inch he can, and we're starting to get to that point right now where if you haven't set a time, you're not going to get around. So Jochen Wet right now in the 101 Bright Esports machine. This is really going to be the last guy to set a lap time.
Yeah, and as we talked about earlier, it might not be raw speed here during qualifying that winds up getting you a great finish at the end of this thing. We've already been witnessing here during practice, towards the end of practice and during qualifying, how tricky this track can be. Smooth and consistency might be the way that you get a really good quality finish here, just simply because other guys in front of you might be pushing hard and wreck out early.
Stay on track. Nothing can go wrong, as Jochen Wet does not take that advice. Running a little bit wide there. That may invalidate this lap, which means qualifying will come to a close. And Jesper Eriksson, at least for the moment, will take pole. And you can see down there on the bottom of the screen, Jochen Wet not going faster than previous best, so he will not improve from his 1 minute 50.032 from earlier on. And the 22 that you see qualify, there's two more drivers that did not set lap times in qualifying. Sebastian Magnusson and Alexander Olsen. Magnusson did not attempt a qualifying run here tonight, and that will do it for this qualifying session. We will now go to the grid here for tonight's race. Starting on pole will be the Force Esports Academy driver Jesper Eriksson with a time of 1 minute 47.789, almost 0.2 off. Michael Haflidason will make up the front row. Melvin Ackerson and Daniel Blomqvist will make up row number 2, with Jonas Gunnarsson and Oscar Fredriksson in row number 3. Row 4 will go to Daniel Holmer and Lucas Holmerin. Row 5 will see Philip Axelsson and Robert Eriksson. Linus Broström and Andre Solander will make up row 6, with Christopher Dahlstrand and Philip Bjork. In row 7, Jochen Wet and Jonas Sjöberg. In row 8, Marcus Hagman and Haflidi Johansson. Making up row number 9, Victor Hammerström and Pontus Nordgren. In row number 10, row 11, we'll see Bjorn Broström and Marcus Stiller, with Alexander Olsen and Sebastian Magnusson rounding out the rest of this 24, potentially 23 car field, depending upon whether or not Magnusson is still in the session, as the cars are now gridding up to get ready to go on their parade lap here around the Sebring International Raceway. Weather conditions here for tonight: 23 degree ambient temperature, 28 degree track temperature, with a 9K wind blowing about southeast here tonight. It's going to be quite cool conditions for this race as far as the race is concerned. Still about right in that 70-80 degree Fahrenheit range, but not all that bad for these drivers.
Yeah, absolutely. And these cars here are designed to really grip up to the racetrack and exude downforce, right? That's what they are made for. And even if it was adverse track conditions, these cars do a really good job at navigating the air and making sure they're supplanted to the ground. But This is a treat for these drivers tonight, as they're going to have really favorable track positions in order to put the car wherever they want.
Worth noting that Sebastian Magnussen did make the grid, so all 24 cars that were entered here for this race will start here tonight. So biggest field of the season so far. We've held over 20 for the 2 prior races, and now all 3. Again, these guys are going to have to hunker down for a nice 2-hour stroll through Sebring, Florida.
Yep, and it's certainly not about where you start this 2-hour endurance. It's where you wind up finishing. So just because if your favorite driver is starting mid to back of the pack, it doesn't spell certain doom for them. Just be patient. Watch them move up through the field. We're really excited to see the comers and goers tonight. As the track conditions change, right? This is going to change over time, and drivers are going to have to adapt.
Will be a closely contested race without a doubt as we get set to go here tonight. Thank you very much to AMRT for sponsoring tonight's race. Here from Sebring, 3 races to go. 3 down, 3 to go after tonight. Final 3 rounds of the season. Indianapolis, hour and 40 minutes around the Indianapolis road course, hour and 45 at Road Atlanta, and then a 2-hour and 40-minute enduro to end the season at Daytona as the Svenska eRacingligan tours some of the greatest road courses and circuits here in the United States, as we're getting closer and closer now to kicking this race off.
So being able to hit your braking point here, barreling off into the first corner, is going to be crucial for these drivers, especially mid-pack. Got to pay attention to the guy in front of you, not necessarily when the green flag flies. Don't go just because it says it's green. Go when the guy in front of you goes. Going to be really, really pumped here, Frank, to watch how this field attacks this unique racetrack.
Absolutely. It is going to be quite a fun night here. An action-packed 2 hours here at Sebring is on the cards. Qualifying times were very, very close to each other. However, there are a lot of chances to make mistakes around such a big and technical racetrack for as long as this race is. Jesper Eriksson leading away as your pole sitter. He will have the inside for turn number 1. Michael Haflidason just a little bit off him coming down the front straightaway. Green flag is in the air. 2 hours from Sebring. We are underway, and look at these guys fan out as Eriksson got a horrific start that moves Melvin Atkinson to the race lead.
What a move by Atkinson, taking advantage of, well, look, we have a chaos here, about 10th on back, and it's going to log jam at least 5 or 6 drivers back here.
It's Robert Eriksson, Philip Bjork involved in it as well. Saw him around backwards. The 33 of Jonas Gunnarsson in the back.
Wow, Gunnarsson started 5th in this event, Frank, and he's all the way back to last right now. Heartbreaking for him on the first corner.
Big dive there from Michael Haflidason. A little bit of contact on the back end, trying to get around Daniel Blomqvist through one of the big breaking points here at this racetrack. As things now starting to settle down as they went really, really wide going through turn 1.
And it all started, Frank, you said it. There was a horrendous restart from the front row, and it really spread out the field behind them, not leaving a lot of room for drivers to do anything other than for evasive action early on, maybe before they really wanted to, before they got into turn 1.
We will take a look at that start and what happened in turn 1 here in just a moment. As Andre Solander battling with Linus Broström. There's Broström in the 71. Solander getting a push from Jochen Wett down the long back straightaway. Wett now poking out. looking to the outside in that 101. Solander better on the brakes. Here comes Wet for the crossover. Not close enough.
Great battling back here, mid-pack right now. Guys trying to vie for position. Take a look back here. This is a battle for 12th. We have Bronstam and Stiller back and forth. Great battle here for 12th.
Linus Broström hanging it around the outside, trying to defend from Marcus Stiller. Christopher Dahlstrand not that far behind as well. Battle up closer to the top 5. Lucas Holmer in the 021. Trying to keep his Forza Esports teammate Oscar Fredriksson behind him. That's not going to last too long. Fredriksson up into the top 5.
As you see on our timing and scoring pylon, we have Gunnarsson down pit road here. Of course, involved in that lap 1 incident, started 5th, dropped all the way back to last. He has limped that machine all the way back around to pit road. Terrible start for him.
Unfortunate for the man who finished second in point, second last week, or last time out, I should say, at Road America. Melvin Atkinson now trying to run away from Jesper Eriksson. Eriksson closing in though after a very poor start for that number 47, for that number 37. My goodness.
Frank, you told me we would have problems with names, not numbers. So,
Like I told you before the race, I'm just having problems, man.
But I think Eriksson, he's pretty anxious to make up for that bad restart, trying to make his way back up to first place. This is a battle back here again for 11th, 12th, and 13th. We have Bronstam, Wet, and Stiller back here.
Linus Broström trying to get that run off the inside. Stiller pushing him through, or trying to push him through at least. Wet has the inside line. And Wet will get the spot. Fortunately for Broström, he will fall in line behind Marcus Stiller, or ahead of Marcus Stiller, I should say. Andre Solander now coming under fire from Alexander Olsen, winner of the opening round at VIR.
This is a battle for 9th between these two machines, and right now give the advantage to Olsen as he barrels off into this braking zone. Got to defend, make sure there's no dive bomb behind him, but going through the S's here, got to hit your marks. Can't get on those rumble strips too much, or as we saw earlier in practice, that car will get out from under you.
Alexander Olsen invalidated his one and only qualifying attempt, so started back in 23rd position. He's already up to 9th, plus 14 for the 292, and second place man in points right now.
Who needs to qualify good when you're quick?
Exactly right. Here comes Melvin Atkinson, keeping Jesper Eriksson at bay. Now Eriksson set the fastest lap of the race at a 1 minute 48.08 compared to Atkinson's 48.43 last time around. So 37 is quicker, just not able to catch up where it truly matters.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you make a pass attempt in one of these heavy braking zones and it doesn't pay off, you really suffer speed for the next half a lap or so. And so I think that's what Eriksson's trying to go through right now. He's got to manage his braking zones well and really commit to a pass attempt, as you can see, all over the back bumper of Atkinson. But if the pass doesn't work, it's going to cost you another lap or so to get back to where you were.
It is quite a give and take, especially early on in these races. Not quite close enough to make a dive bomb just yet. However, I'm not sure he's too keen on thinking dive bomb right now, being 6 minutes into a 2-hour race as Philip Axelson and Daniel Holmer battle for 7th.
Yeah, great battle back here. Very impressed with how some of these drivers have been able to move through the field well, and others have been able to defend their positions well. Holmer is one of them. He has not moved from his 7th place starting position.
That he has not. Let's take a look. Let's go back and take a look at this start, as it was one heck of a start. And again, a very poor one for the leaders boy, just both drivers on the front row did not go. Really fanned everyone out. That's how Atkinson got to the lead. And then look at the outside of 3 wide there. Ooh, it was actually the inside. It was Gunnarsson that went around that really kicked that off.
Yeah, Gunnarsson was trying to get around that inside lane and did not anticipate Ericsson braking as hard as he did going into turn 1. And that's what caused it.
There they go, going into turn 1. See it one more time here. A little bit better view. 33 on the inside there. Oh, he ended up getting bunched up by the 37 of Ericsson. Caused him to get on the brakes. Probably sent the back end around there.
Back up front, Frank, we did have a pass for the lead as Ericsson is to the inside now of Atkinson, side by side here in this heavy braking zone, and Atkinson does good to keep the car underneath him.
Atkinson trying to not let Ericsson get away, but by doing that, he's cost himself a second on the race leader. And look at the conga line of cars coming up now, led by Michael Haflidason, Daniel Blomqvist there, Oscar Fredriksson, Lucas Holmer, and the top 6 all within 2 seconds of each other.
Yeah, absolutely. And having that pressure behind you now as a driver, you've already given up a lead, right? And then you're taking a look in your mirror, and now there's 5 guys behind you that want your spot. You get really nervous as a driver here early on, and that could lead to compounding mistakes. So Atkinson's just got to get back into a groove, not necessarily try to wrestle the lead back right now. We are only almost 9 minutes into this. He's got a lot of time. So just hit your marks, carry on for the next few laps, a couple minutes, and really concentrate on being in front of the field.
It's the replay going into turn 3 on the outside. Ericsson,
wow,
very good on the brakes. The track falls in his favor. Then back to Atkinson's favor. Look at how hard Ericsson's pushing to try to get in front, and then again another fight back. Ericsson really defending that inside line. There goes Atkinson to the outside. And just with how much that corner tightens up on exit, there was no way Atkinson was going to be able to come out of that side by side with him, and Ericsson now scampering off.
I think Ericsson is really confident to go and run and hide right now. He laid down the pole lap, and really wanted to capitalize early on to run away. Of course, the terrible restart jumbled that plan early. It only took him about 10 minutes to get that lap back, or to get that position back rather, and now he's pulled out to a pretty sizable lead already. It's only been about a minute since he made that pass for the lead.
Ericsson definitely not a part of Bright Esports. Not sure why that messed up there. Forza Esports all the way for that number 37, as you see on the car. Oscar Fredriksson towards the middle of this group, as I believe Christopher Dahlstrand. Ooh. Yes, he has. It's Christopher Dahlstrand going around.
Heavy hit to that wall there. We'll have to see where Dahlstrand perhaps missed a breaking point, and compounds it more, getting in. Oh my goodness gracious.
That was Robert Ericsson coming through in the 35. He was a part of that first lap incident as well. A part of Team Superior. Let's take a look and see what happened with Dahlstrand.
Just loses it.
Yep, just too much gas too early. And then as we saw, trying to come back onto the racetrack. As you would say in a public lobby, that was a interesting rejoin. A little bit before that, here's Marcus Stiller trying to get as much speed as he can down the long straightaway. Running a little bit wide. Now Stiller trying to keep Victor Hammerstrom at bay.
Yeah, both of these drivers moving up multiple positions from where they started. Stiller's up 9. Hammerstrom's up 5 from where he started. Excellent drives by both of these guys, able to keep the car underneath them early on. it might behoove them to work together, trying to catch this next group of three in front of them.
Pontus Nordgren behind those two. Philip Bjork there as well. The driver they're trying to catch right now is Linus Broström, running in 12th. Jochen Wet right in front. Andre Solander about 1.2 seconds ahead of him. Next closest battle on track would be for that 8th position. Philip Axelsson has been losing ground hand over fist to Alexander Olsen here over the last couple of laps. Take a look at the lap time history between the two, and you can see there it's been about 3/4 of a second to a full second a lap the last couple times around.
Yeah, Olsen's very confident in his machine right now, able to really put that wherever he wants to on the racetrack and kind of let the driver in front of him come back to him. And I think he'll make quick work here this pass early on in this contest.
The pass looking, Oscar Fredriksson looking to the inside of Daniel Blomqvist. Now here comes Akesson, who's been starting to fall back. Akesson has gotten passed by Michael Haflidason, has also gotten passed by Blomqvist, and now Fredriksson.
Yeah, so the front row have recaptured where they started. Eriksson and Haflidason both started 1-2 on this contest. We documented earlier how both of those drivers did not perhaps get the greatest of restarts. Maybe they were playing a little bit of cat and mouse with one another on that jump, but now they've made up for their blunders here 13 minutes into this contest.
Philip Axelsson allowing Alexander Olsen to get around. We saw that. As we'll jump on board here with Oscar Fredriksson, part of the 4Z Sports Academy. Will be running for a championship on the Cup side starting next week. It's looking very, very composed right now. Is this 112 machine running in 4th? And that's half the fight around a road course like this, is just know the line, run the line, and the speed eventually will come as the comfort starts to come into the car.
Yeah, absolutely. And it just seems that, unfortunately, when you start to get in a rhythm, you tend to catch the guy in front of you, and that'll change your rhythm, right? Where your driving line will have to change. You'll have to be on the attack and really try to get around the person in front of you so that you can continue on. This is a battle for 5th back here that we're watching right now. And Atkinson right now is just hemorrhaging positions.
Atkinson losing another spot, this time to Lucas Holmer. Now Atkinson trying to do what Jesper Eriksson did to him. Contact between the two, and that sends Holmer around backwards.
Head-on collision
with Alexander Olsen, who was one of the fastest cars here tonight, at least early.
Significant damage here to Olsen's machine as that right front is contorted in all different kinds of ways. And unfortunately, no matter what you're driving, Frank, head-on collisions normally don't end well.
No, absolutely not. As now he's just going to pull it off and wait for the tow, I believe. Or no, he's going to try to drive it through.
And just trying to get out of the driving line, I think.
Yep. Let's take a look and see. Again, you'd mentioned that Atkinson was really starting to lose ground. Tries the same move that Eriksson tried on him. Runs too wide for turn 4. Contact there. That pushes the 021 off into the grass and around. And then as he tries to straighten it back up, boy, there was nowhere for Olsen to go.
Of course, it's I don't want to say it's a blind corner. It's not like you're going up a hill or anything, but you are trying to make that hard turn and not really expecting a guy to be staring at you in the face. Look at this.
This is from on board of Olsen. You can see he's off the racing line, and then just in trying to turn it around, thought he can get it spun around quicker. Maybe thought he can get a flick spin in, and unfortunately didn't turn out that way.
So a couple really strong drivers out of this one. on to pit road right now. And we're going to take a look back up here. This is a hotly contested battle for third.
Second, third, and fourth here is now Michael Haflidason looking a little bit slow. Didn't get quite the run that he wanted to out of there, but he's going to have the defensive line. And Haflidason will hold on to the position, at least for the moment.
Ooh.
Haflidason, Bloomquist, and Fredrickson. Now Fredrickson looking under Daniel Bloomquist. Wasn't quite there.
Oh, slip up in that braking zone, though, brings Fredrickson right back into this battle. And able to defend it well is Bloomquist.
Bloomquist certainly has his hands full right now.
Meanwhile, Haflidason is running away right now, going, keep on battling. I want to build a gap here.
Just not even half the track ago, Michael Haflidason was side by side with these two. He's now pulled out 1.2 seconds. So what a gap that has been pulled up here. As Bloomquist still fighting to keep Oscar Fredrickson behind. Now these two starting to reel Haflidason back in a little bit. Haflidason 7 seconds now off of Jesper Eriksson, who just set the fastest lap of the race at a 1:47.87. Next fastest lap belongs to Oscar Fredrickson at a 1:48.43 as far as best overall lap.
Yeah, Ericsson's really running away with this. Just going off and hiding right now as drivers behind him continue to battle for position. And right now, the best battle we have right now tends to be this hotly contested one between Bloomquist and Fredrickson here for third. Doing a great job, Bloomquist is defending. Trying to run defensive lines through most of this racetrack.
Bloomquist still keeping pace and is starting to close in ever so slightly on Michael Haflidason. That gap has now come back down under a second between these two and second place Haflidason. So they are closing in. Now that they've stopped squabbling with each other, as two more Bright Esports cars attempting to make their way up. Melvin Atkinson, who was leading this race for about the first 6 minutes or so, out in front of Daniel Holmer, the current points leader, and Holmer is going to get a nice little boost as far as the points championship is concerned. Came into this race 3 points ahead of Alexander Olsen. Olsen down pit road, trying to repair a massive amount of damage to his car.
Yeah, and if you're a viewer of this and you go, well, okay, my guy Homer, he's got it in the bag. Don't assume. We're only 20 minutes in, so who knows what can happen later on in this contest that'll dramatically shift the balance of what's going on. A number of drivers who are already on pit road for significant damage are back on the racetrack, so they are making up time now. Going to be interesting to see how the rest of this race unfolds.
Jonas Gunnarsson is back on track. If you saw a black flash off to the right of your screen when we jumped on board with Daniel Holmer, that was Christopher Dahlstrand getting back onto the racing surface. There's a little bit of a lockup there from Atkinson. Allows Daniel Holmer to squeak on through, so Holmer up into 5th position now.
That might have been friendly teammate move over there from Atkinson. I mean, he knows Holmer's pretty quick right now, so being able to learn from a teammate that is driving better than you, probably beneficial for Atkinson right now as he continues to lose positions, but now he's got a buddy in front of him to learn from.
See, Holmer's been a little bit quicker than Atkinson over these last couple of laps, so certainly get that feeling as though Atkinson was holding the championship leader up. seconds. That you just saw him flash behind there in the screen. There's the 80 of Christopher Dahlstrand. The next car for position is the driver behind Dahlstrand. That is the 019 of Philip Axelson. As Jochen Huet and Linus Broström continue to battle now, instead of for 11th and 12th, it's now for 9th and 10th after incidents earlier.
Yeah, they're moving up through the field right now in terms of other drivers' misfortunes, but they just seem to can't get away from each other right now. I've been watching timing and scoring, and they're going back and forth a number of different times, trying to battle for position here, just inside the top 10.
Andre Solander in front of them as well. Solander just put down his fastest lap of the race at a 1:49.69. Meanwhile, up at the front, Jesper Eriksson just put down the fastest lap of the race, a 47.78.
Wow.
As this battle here for second has come back together again.
Yeah, really competitive battle here. Bloomquist, I'm really impressed. I thought he was going to drift back behind Fredriksson. He had his hands full, certainly. We were documenting that earlier, running a super defensive line. Able to find some rhythm here, reel back Haflidason in front of him, and really put the fight now to second place.
These two, Bloomquist and Fredriksson, have been running about 0.3 of a second a lap faster than Haflidason these last few circulations. And now Bloomquist actually starting to run away from Oscar Fredriksson a little bit, as Fredriksson had a little bit of a slip up there going on to the back straightaway.
Yeah, Frank, but these two are going to get battling here for a second, and it's going to reel Fredriksson right back into the fray. And as soon as these two get side by side, especially through braking zones, Fredriksson's going to have his choice of lane and be able to sneak right back up into this battle.
Melvin Atkinson down pit road. Race leader for about the first 6 minutes of tonight. Becomes the first to make a pit stop. As Haflidason keeping Bloomquist just at arm's length. AM Racing team carrying the race sponsor. Once again, thank you very much to AMRT for sponsoring tonight's race. We know the champion of the Cup side, which we'll know in about 3 months' time, with these guys racing every other week. The champion on the Cup side will be getting a brand new sim rig sponsored by AMRT.
Oh, that's pretty sweet.
Produced by AMRT. Made of the finest Swedish steel, I've heard.
Oh, well, great.
You can't go wrong with that.
But these drivers back here, they're certainly battling with one another, trying to figure this out. Meanwhile, our leader, Eriksson, he's down pit road right now. So this is going to surrender about a 9-second lead from Eriksson. Nope, never mind. Just forget what I'm going to say. The top four down pit road.
Top 5 as Daniel Holmer finds his way down pit road as well. Next up would be Philip Axelson. Axelson swinging well wide, but he's going to get the inside cut. He'll come down pit road. Andre Solander, the next one. Solander down pit road. Linus Broström will follow. Jochen Huet will follow as well.
Wow. Okay. Nobody just take the lead then.
Robert Eriksson would be the next one. Jesper still in the box. And Robert will follow suit as well. Down pit road, the entirety of the top 10.
Happy for them, Frank.
And now Jesper Eriksson will roll off of pit road. Jonas Sjöberg, Sebastian Magnusson, Pontus Nordgren down pit road as well. And Jesper Eriksson will come in and out with the race lead. Lost a little bit of time as far as his race lead was concerned, but other than that, as Michael Haflidason losing out to Daniel Blomqvist. So a swap in the pits for second.
This will be really interesting, Frank, because I'm taking a look at timing and scoring right now. We documented earlier, Melvin Atkinson went down pit road a lap earlier than most of our top 10 and undercut the field. We documented his struggles earlier. He's now cycled back into the 6th position.
Yes, he's still where he was. However, he is a little bit closer to Daniel Holmer. He had fallen outside of 4 seconds behind Daniel Holmer. Now has clawed it back inside of 3 from being on a lap earlier. As Michael Haflidason falling into the clutches of Oscar Fredriksson now.
Yeah, intense battle now here. You got to run defensive. You have to do what the person that was reeling you in not too long ago was doing in Blomqvist. Got to ignore the guy behind you. Focus on everything in front of you. Haflidason has a tall task ahead of him right now.
A little bit further behind, Jonas Sjoberg battling with Sebastian Magnusson. Sjoberg in the ART 757. Magnusson in the 877 behind. These two are right on top of each other going into turn 1, but as you do here around the twists and turns of Sebring, it's kind of opened the gap a little bit. As Haflidason and Fredriksson still going at it.
Continuing the battle here. Really, really intense for 3rd place. I think he's holding up that 112 car just a little bit. It'd be interesting to see how quick Fredriksson can make work of this 3rd place machine in order to catch Blomqvist, because we saw earlier they were fairly close to one another, and it doesn't get much closer than that.
Oh, it certainly doesn't, as here comes Fredriksson down the inside looking for that 3rd position. He will get it. Oscar Fredriksson promoted up into 3rd position. Haflidason not wanting to give it up, though, and leave it laying. Haflidason just not close enough, and there's not enough. There's just not enough passing zones in the middle of this racetrack in order to make it work.
Yeah, it'd be interesting now if this pairing with Fredriksson in front, if these two can reel in Blomqvist. Saw earlier a pair of two stop fighting with one another, reel in 2nd place. Be interesting if this pair can work together and make their way back up the charts.
Haflidason is falling off a little bit, and with all the battling, Jesper Eriksson has opened up an 11.4 second lead over the rest of the field after losing out on the start, getting the lead about 7 minutes in. Jesper Eriksson starting to run away. Here at Sebring, we are a quarter of the way through. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back with more of the AMRT Grand Prix from Sebring International Raceway.
Behöver du en bil? Mobbe hyrbilar finns på över 150 platser i landet och vi har nästan lika många modeller att välja på. Mobbe hyrbilar. Hyrbilar som passar dig. Behöver du en bil? Mabe hyrbilar finns på över 150 platser i landet och vi har nästan lika många modeller att välja på. Mabe hyrbilar. Hyrbilar som passar dig.
Back here at Sebring International Raceway for the AMRT Grand Prix. The halfway point of this season. 3 races down after today, 3 races to go. Indianapolis in 2 weeks, Road Atlanta in a month, and then on the 20th of April will be Daytona International Speedway to close out the second road season here on SRM for the Svenska eRacingligan. As Jesper Eriksson, who we are seeing right now, has pulled out a further 2 seconds over that break. Now 13.5 seconds clear of Daniel Blomqvist, who has held on to second place nicely after passing Michael Haflidason on pit road. Oscar Fredriksson has gotten close but has since fallen away. Gap was about as close as 1.8 seconds a couple of laps ago. It is now swollen to 1.8 seconds. Michael Haflidason falling away, 1.8 seconds adrift of Fredriksson. These 3, however, have 13 seconds to Daniel Holmer, who currently sits in 5th. Closest battle on track, we'll take a look back. Jonas Sjöberg and Sebastian Magnusson battling for the 12th spot.
Magnusson doing a pretty good job today, plus 11 from where he has started. Wants to make quick work to try to get closer to the top 10. As you mentioned earlier, Frank, there's quite significant intervals between multiple battles on track as you take a look at who are the comers and goers of this event. As you see further on down on the pylon, we have multiple drivers significantly down from where they started today. That can all stem from a lap 1 incident. Lap 1, turn 1. Not good for some of these drivers here today.
Jonas Gunnarsson going off. Lap 1, turn 1. Man who finished second place 2 weeks ago at Road America up in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, has not had things go his own way here today after starting in 5th, down to 22nd. Lucas Holmer, and saw the incident that he got in with one of the Bright Esports cars. That would have been Melvin Atkinson. Atkinson has been down pit road for the better part of 5 minutes now, and this is what happened with Atkinson. Ever since then, he's been down pit road, got a little bit too hot into turn 3, caught the wall, and as you can see, well, you'll be able to see a little bit better here once we get onto a straightaway. Broke the steering, knocked the steering off a little bit, and he has been on pit road ever since, trying to get the toe knocked back in on that number 086.
And he is now out on the racetrack, Frank. He just got back out on the racetrack just while you were recapping.
There he is. Back out on track in 19th. Leader of the first 7 minutes of this race. And this goes to show you how much things can turn over the course of 40 minutes. Had another off before. Daniel Holmer back on lap 20. This is coming on to the final straightaway. Haflidason Johansson also with an off. It's in the middle of the circuit, just about to get back onto the runway portion. Running wide there. Pontus Nordgren going off as well. This is at turn 3. Very similar incident, a little bit harder and more direct in hit that Nordgren took compared to Atkinson. Well, when we started these replays, Jochen Wet run wide in turn 1. And then just a moment ago, Christopher Dahlstrand going into turn 1. It's the 044 of Philip Bjork in front of him, running wide in turn 1, and that's it's about as wide as you can get right there.
And it all changes in an instant. Yep. So if you're some of these drivers that are hanging around in the back, you might be able to gain a spot or two by the time this one's finished.
There's a driver who said, "I am done here this evening, and I want to make sure it's in spectacular fashion." As Jochen Wet,
he got some screen time. So
absolutely did. Jochen Wet and Marcus Hagman battling it out. This will be for the 9th spot in the 101 and the 12. Marcus Hagman, a couple of podiums this season on the Cup side. Over the course of this season, finished on the podium at the Nashville Super Speedway, and then winning last week at Talladega in the number 12 for Forza Esports. Jochen Wet on that Cup side. Unfortunately for him, will not be running for the championship, nor will Hagman for that matter.
Both drivers right now just trying to log laps, be able to manage their stuff right now. We saw previously that these drivers went 13, 14 laps around Sebring before they went on pit road. That was around I believe the 25-minute mark, if I'm correct. But We should be approaching another set of pit stops here momentarily.
Yep, Marcus Hagman coming in now. He's only stopped once. That was his 20th lap on tires and fuel there. He came into pit on lap 2, did Hagman. And now just came in as he starts lap number 23.
Huh.
So these guys clearly by that short pitting here in the first segment of this race.
Hagman, you would think, do you think Frank Hagman had damage from perhaps lap 1 incident? And that's what brought him down pit road.
That would explain it. That would certainly explain why he was out on the track so long. I believe he was a part of that first lap incident. A couple more incidents to bring you up to date on. Philip Bjork getting back onto the runways. Clipping curb. Oh, that was exactly what Linus Broström did in qualifying. That ended his qualifying run. And then that was right in front of Jesper Eriksson, the race leader. And now here comes Alexander Olsen back on track after repairing damage to his car. Is going to pull it off and stop. Still doesn't feel something he likes in that car. And decided to pull it off. Alexander Olsen done for the day.
Yeah, Sebring, it's a very unforgiving track when you lose concentration. Talked a lot about the rumble strips early on. And if you clip one of them, it upsets the bounce of these cars tremendously. And you have to be on it all the time. And in a 2-hour contest, can really strain the mental game of some of these drivers. And we're seeing that now as we are past the 45-minute mark. It's wearing on some of these guys, and we're not yet halfway through.
We're on broadcasters as well as we try to find the right camera shot as they're on board with Sebastian Magnus and Jonas Sjoberg getting a little bit wild coming out of the final corner. Not to say, Sebastian, that you don't look beautiful, but that was not the camera angle that we were going for at that particular time. Is Magnussen right now finding quite a comfortable spot right now behind Jonas Sjoberg, not showing to be too much quicker. He has shown pace compared to the 757 in front of him. However, he's not had that pace at a time where he could make up a position.
Yeah, Magnussen doing a pretty good job of just being opportunistic right now. Up 12 spots from where he started this contest, and I think right now, not yet halfway. It's a good spot to just really log laps. You're not too far away from the guy in front of you. There's not a lot of pressure to really make up a ton of ground, as he is the last car in the lead lap, I believe. And so ultimately, no pressure from behind. You're close enough during this next round of pit cycles to perhaps make up ground on the guy in front of you. Just log laps right now.
I've already seen that with Daniel Blomqvist getting around Michael Haflidason, as both guys having problems getting onto the long straightaway. Magnussen losing the back end. Sjoberg running wide. Sjoberg, though, able to keep that momentum and pace up. Be able to extend away from Magnussen a little bit here. Still within a second. So Magnussen will still be sniffing that draft. As he continues to try to chip away at that 757 and has been for the last couple of laps. Last couple of laps it's been since he's come back onto the racetrack from pit road. Which at this point was 10 laps ago. Michael Haflidason up in fourth position has had a little bit of an off. Oh, big wiggle, big save there right in front of Marcus Hagman, who just came down pit road. So Michael Haflidason still in front of Hagman, though. 4 seconds adrift now of Oscar Fredriksson. Remember, Haflidason was second place going into the first round of pit stops. Didn't necessarily have a bad stop. Was a second slower than Daniel Blomqvist, and actually a little bit quicker, about 0.2 of a second quicker in the box than Oscar Fredriksson was. Still enough to lose position to Blomqvist on pit road, and then Fredriksson making the pass on the racetrack.
Yeah, just a couple of drivers in front of Haflidason that, in my opinion, in Blomqvist and Fredriksson, that are just a little bit more comfortable with their machines right now. I've been really impressed with Blomqvist. We documented earlier how Blomqvist was able to defend extensively from pressure behind, really hunt down the driver in front of him, and then overcome that battle behind him to make up positions in front of him. So needs something catastrophic in front of him, I think, in order to catch Ericsson, but doing a great job holding down P2.
He absolutely has done. As Oscar Fredriksson falling behind by a couple of tenths a lap. Blomqvist has shown himself to be the second fastest car on track. No one has been able to touch Jesper Eriksson since he's gotten back into the race lead here in this race. Eriksson 16.5 seconds clear of Daniel Blomqvist. Only driver to go sub 1 minute 48. His best lap, a 1 minute 47.78. Second fastest car on track has been Daniel Blomqvist. 1 minute 48.17 would have been his best time. Philip Bjork having another off. Take a look and see what happened here with the 044.
Ooh.
It's a turn 5 prior to the sweeping right-hander before the heavy braking hairpin.
No harm, no foul. Able to keep it going.
Michael Haflidason off as well. Same corner. Different lap. That was a little bit more adventurous, but still same result. All good from there.
He's had a couple offs, Frank, and he's done a great job keeping Marcus Hagman behind him. So, good job there from Haflidason, trying to make the best out of a kind of a bad situation. He's lost touch of the competitors around him in front of him.
Just barely kept it on track in that same corner. He's gone off there each of the last 2 laps, except this one. And Haflidason continuing to fall away a little bit. Haflidason not that much slower than Oscar Fredriksson ahead of him, at least that last lap. Now there's about a half a second difference between himself and Fredriksson, as we see taking a ride on board here with Oscar Fredriksson in the 112. Part of the 4Z Sports Academy. And 4Z Sports Academy has done great things, not just in the GT3 season that we saw precede this, and not just here this season, but also over on the Cup side. Again, with Jesper Eriksson winning the regular season championship. As playoff racing will begin next week on the Cup side. That will be from Las Vegas Motor Speedway. First round of the playoffs for them, Las Vegas and Richmond. Round number 2, we'll see Auto Club and Dover, and then the Championship 5 will be back at Charlotte Motor Speedway for the second time this season. However, this time it will be on the oval, unlike earlier this season where they were on the Roval. As we
Totally different beast right now that we're going through here versus versus a Charlotte oval or even Roval, with just how delicate these cars can be, especially on the cup side. Feel like you can be super aggressive with these bumps and being able to jump over rumble strips. Definitely can't do that today.
No, it's these cars, you can usually punch it, but if you punch it a little bit too aggressively, it's not a good time for you. As Daniel Blomqvist continuing to lose time, not just to Jesper Eriksson, but now starting to lose time to Oscar Fredriksson. As Jochen Wett, I believe, has gone off. Or, pardon me, Philip Axelsson has gone off. That has brought Jochen Wett into the fight. Axelsson in the 019, Wett in the 101. Robert Eriksson not that far behind as Andre Solander comes down pit road.
Could be seeing our second round of pit stops here. This is probably just what Wett wants in order to be within striking distance to make up ground on a pit road cycle. Saw that happen earlier in this contest between various competitors throughout the field. As we take a look here at the replay, look at Axelsson. Try to find his moment here.
Right there.
Yikes, big moment there, sideways.
As we said, got up on that curb. And these curbs here at Sebring are very high. And that is what put Axelsson back in the crosshairs of Jochen Wett in the 101. He was quite a ways ahead at that time. He's now trying to recover some of that time lost. It had gotten down to as close as 0.3 of a second. We're now up over a second between the 101 and the 019. And as we had mentioned, Daniel Blomqvist not only losing ground to Jesper Eriksson, but also losing ground to Oscar Fredriksson. We'll take a look at the last couple of laps between the two, the time delta. And you can see the most recent couple of laps, it has been falling back into Fredriksson's hands.
So you got to wonder who's coming and who's going right now. Where if you're Blomqvist, are you purposely backing off towards the end of this run? Or knowing you have that gap? Or if you're Fredriksson, are you the one doing all the work? Are you the one pushing the car as hard as you can before this next pit cycle in order to catch the person in front of you? Numbers would indicate Fredriksson is trying to get as much as he can out of this machine before the next pit cycle.
Numbers would also insinuate that Fredriksson just made a mistake. He was 1 second behind Blomqvist going into the middle portion of the racetrack. He's now 2 seconds behind. As Blomqvist now starting to increase that gap a little bit on Fredriksson. I'm sure as we're inching closer and closer to pit stops, something he will certainly be keen on doing. Doesn't want to have happen to him what he did to Michael Haflidason earlier on. Now Jochen Wett coming under fire. He was putting Philip Axelsson under fire. Now Robert Eriksson has caught up in the number 35 for Team Superior.
That's a great battle back here, shaping up now for 8th position. Wett's got to defend, be able to manage this contest behind him. It's such a tough place to be in, right? You were so close to catching the person in front of you, and now you got to worry what's going on behind you.
You mentioned the incident with Christopher Dahlstrand, saying, well, that's a driver who was done for the day. Oh, big moment there for Robert Eriksson. Makes it work for him, though. He's a little bit closer than he was a moment ago after clipping the grass. Now he's falling back a little bit. We said with that moment going into turn one, that was a driver who was done that wanted to make it spectacular. Well, we were wrong, and we apologize. Christopher Dahlstrand back on the racetrack.
Oh, I see. I see. I'm just flirting with the broadcast partners. I understand.
Philip,
As this is a great battle here, Frank. This is it's a treat now at the midpoint of the contest to get a couple drivers this close to one another. And ultimately, Wett's doing a great job at defending here. A little wide there, but that's going to benefit him off into this corner. As Ericsson's now within a car length.
Expectation is that it will be dark by the time we get done with this race. No lights on the track, however, the cars well equipped. Broadcast might not be, but hey.
My phone's got a flashlight, Frank.
There it is. Thank you. Thank you for the help. Philip York had a moment earlier on. This is going on to the straightaway. Running wide. Ooh. Stayed on that grass a little bit too long. And then we thought he was bulletproof. Apparently he wasn't. Jesper Eriksson running off wide.
Man, I wish my moments were that small.
That's a glancing blow right there for someone who's bulletproof. And then Michael Haflidason well off in turn one. This one a little bit more dramatic, but still keeping it straight. Linus Broström down pit road now. As Jochen Wett still in front of Robert Eriksson.
Yeah, I think Ericsson's just waiting for Wett to have another moment in order to slinky back up behind him. See there, Wett's doing a good job just trying to stay out of the wake of the 35 machine. Prevent him down that long sweeping straightaway. And now we're getting to the more technical part of the racetrack where 35's been really good under braking zones.
It's that defensive line that Jochen Wett takes there. Solid race craft as far as keeping a driver behind you goes. Clean move. Robert Eriksson, who we're riding on board with right now, will be running for the championship next week.
Ow. Ow. To everybody watching, that was 2 times in 2 broadcasts I've managed to whack my hand off of my microphone. Oh my goodness gracious. I apologize. Wow, that hurts.
Good job, bud.
Oh. You got to be known for something as a broadcaster. Might as well be that.
He's right. He's 2 for 2 this week. Robert Eriksson keeping a nice solid line behind Jochen Wett. Just not able to be good enough in a place where he needs to be in order to get a good run. That one looked like a very good exit there. Unfortunately, you could tell by timing and scoring that Wett is actually pulling away a little bit.
Yeah, it's got to be so frustrating as a driver. Like, you are better than the guy in front of you in the areas of the track where you cannot make a pass. And then the one that you're trying to hunt down is better than you in all the areas that matter. And I think if the 35 got around Wett here, you'd see Eriksson pull away. But it's just not the case right now. Can't get a good run where there's passing lanes.
Defensive line going into what is technically turn 3 around this racetrack. And to speak to your point, Philip Axelsson, who was at one point, after making a mistake, only about a half a second ahead of Jochen Wett, is now pulled out to 3.5 seconds clear of these two.
And part of that, Frank, is because Wett's driving a defensive line, right? It's not an optimal racing groove. You are sacrificing time to keep the guy behind you that you are defending from. He's doing an excellent job running these defensive lines, but the sacrifice is that you are losing touch with the competitors in front.
Also doesn't help for Wett that Axelsson just ran his first lap under a minute 49. We're at a minute 48.99. May not be under a minute 49 by much, but It's under a minute 49.
Yep, put that notch in your belt.
Absolutely.
These two, it's getting pretty intense back here. This is, again, a battle for 7th. And Wett's been doing a really good job at driving defensively, but definitely Ericsson is the quicker of these two machines. It's just not quicker in a passing zone. So Wett's doing a really good job of keeping the guy behind it.
Just to show how much quicker Ericsson is when these two were by themselves. Best lap of the race. Jochen Wett just ran his at a 1 minute 49.70. Robert Ericsson, his fastest lap of the race happened much earlier, a 1:49.37, so about a half a second quicker a lap. That 35 is effectively losing behind the 101 based off of what his best lap time is. Couple of guys going off. We'll wait until after this braking zone here. Marcus Hagman going off. Too much rear brake. And then Lucas Holmer, same corner. Slid through it a little bit further as Oscar Fredrickson comes down pit road. Michael Haflidason doing the same. So the second round of pit stops has begun.
I feel like we've been anticipating this for so long. Drivers pitting on the around the 25-minute mark of this contest. Now we are an hour and 5 minutes in, and they go down pit road. Just shows how much fall off can happen as the racing continues. A great battle back here. Excellent driver craftsmanship between Wett and Ericsson. Just goes to show you can be very proficient running a defensive line.
Now, from what we're seeing here, I'm seeing it in chat that we saw what happened on lap 9 between Lucas Holmerin and the guys battling up there. Apparently something happened with Marcus Stiller. This is way back on lap 9. And, oh!
Wow.
Yeah, we missed that. And that was what put Alexander Olsen out for as long as he was. We saw that he was damaged earlier. This is pretty much where we left Olsen after that incident had happened. He's going to run wide here. He's going to take the wide road. And then it's going to come up right here as he gets back on track. So we just missed this. Okay, I guess it's going to happen a little bit later. Okay, here he comes. He can't turn. Hits that wall hard, and then, man alive, Marcus Stiller. Here he comes again.
Yeah, the YouTube chat on their game today.
Yeah, YouTube chat coming up big there. And there was nothing that Stiller could have done there. Jesper Eriksson down pit road, down and away. Daniel Bloomquist, Daniel Holmer down and away as well. Or down on pit road, I should say. So thank you very much to the YouTube chat. And I'm also seeing the same guy who I just saw in the YouTube chat mention that on the Twitch chat as well. So thank you very much to Torska for making sure we caught that. Daniel Holmer, Philip Axelson, Jochen Wett now down pit road. And for the 35 of Robert Ericsson, he has come down pit road as well. This is where in Formula One you need a very, very good outlap.
Yep.
If you want to try to do the classic box to overtake on Jochen Wett. He was clearly quicker than him, just couldn't get around. Now he's got fresh tires, clear and open track. Wett stopped in pit road. This is the time to make up for it.
Yeah, the thing that you have to be careful for if you're Robert Ericsson right now is overdriving the car. As you can see here on our track map, He's trying to make his way around this sweeping corner. It's very easy to overdrive it now that you have fresh tires.
They're rolling
Let's
off.
Let's see the contest. Here it comes.
See that dot of the 101 there coming out onto the racetrack. He's there. There they are, side by side. Wet's going to relent.
As Ericsson might as well have just waved out the window, said see ya as he drove right by, because that was an excellent outlap.
Great job to make up that time there for Robert Ericsson. And for those of you who watched the IndyCar race from St. Pete, the opening round this past weekend, you'll get the reference. Those two did a lot cleaner than Grosjean and McLaughlin did.
Preach.
I'm still not happy about that. I was really pulling for Grosjean. That race, he had that race in the bag. But anyway, Daniel Blomqvist has lost quite a bit of time to Oscar Fredriksson. Fredriksson only about 0.3 of a second quicker from cone to cone on pit road. So this has been race pace between these two. Blomqvist stopping a lap later than Fredriksson. And Blomqvist now going to be under fire here for second place for the first time in the better part of 45 minutes or so.
Yeah, Blomqvist now has to take a look out of his mirror, gauge where the driver behind you, Fredriksson, is better than you on the racetrack. Work on those more technical areas and defend where the passing opportunities are on this racing surface. I mean, you're 23 seconds behind the leader. The best you can do right now is second, so you have to defend it well.
We will step away here to take a quick break. However, we will keep this battle on your screen. You are watching the AMRT Grand Prix from Sebring International Raceway, the halfway point of the Svenska eRacingligan prototype season. We will be back right after this.
Behöver du en bil? Mabe hyrbilar finns på över 150 platser i landet och vi har nästan lika många modeller att välja på. Mabe hyrbilar. Hyrbilar som passar dig. Behöver du en bil? Mabe hyrbilar finns på över 150 platser i landet och vi har nästan lika många modeller att välja på. Mabe hyrbilar. Hyrbilar som passar dig.
Back here at Sebring International Raceway. Road America was 2 weeks ago. Jesper Eriksson currently leading by 25 seconds over this battle that you saw throughout the break. Daniel Blomqvist and Oscar Fredriksson, it's your closest battle on track, and it is for the second position. While we were away, a couple of incidents to bring you up to date on. Philip Bjork coming out of pit road. Takes it a little bit too hot and heavy. Turns the car a little bit too quick on old tires. Around he goes. Michael Haflidason running wide in turn one yet again. Almost a carbon copy of what he did earlier on. Philip Bjork one more time. This time in the runway section. Getting on to the final straight. To spin there is never good. However, it is that was the best result he could have had out of that. Lucas Holmer running a little bit wide, going back towards the runway. And then Michael Haflidason, once again, in turn one, catches the inside wall this time and runs a little bit wider on the third run, wide of turn one. And that, as we speak to you now, Victor Hammerstrom going around. It's been the same couple of corners here tonight, and that has been one of them.
Yeah, and it really hinders that straightaway that follows. Really damages your run into the next set of corners. And drivers have been really aggressive on exit, puts him out in the grass.
Seen that a lot in turn one, which is somewhat blind with that wall and then the narrowing of the racetrack. It feels so much wider than it actually is going into turn one. As we'll take this opportunity to run a lap with our race leader, Jesper Eriksson. This is that long straightaway that we've been talking about. Again, Eriksson out in front by 25 seconds, so don't think he'll have too much concern with us jumping on board with him here. See that sun right in the eyes of the braking zone for that final corner. And here we go. This is a little bit lower than what the driver would see. Swings well out wide. And you want to gas it up so much, but the track narrows up so much. And it's all flat, so you can't really see when it's coming.
I find it amazing how these drivers are straddling the racetrack in terms of being so close to that outside white line and not going into the grass on certain parts of the racetrack. You can really see the drivers that know where the outside and inside edges of their car are, because they are able to get right on that white line and not put it in the grass to hinder their lap.
Jesper Eriksson has been, as we mentioned earlier, pretty bulletproof.
Except for restarts.
Yeah, that opening start was really the only mistake he's made. He ran wide here as well, which has been one of the big corners. Just seems so effortless how he's getting around this racetrack. And for someone who has run many laps around this place, it's far from effortless. Ooh, a big wiggle there as he hops the curb a little bit too much. This place is far from effortless.
And of course, a mistake like that, 26 seconds in front of the field, now 25.3 in front of second place Bloomquist. You can afford to make a couple of them.
You can live with a mistake like that. Now, right when we had jumped on board with Jesper Eriksson, Robert Eriksson had an issue. This is going pretty much right where we had picked up Jesper for the lap. Too much of that curb. Off and away he went and slid all the way out to the Everglades.
Well, you know what that means. He's got to reel in wet again. as that battle will continue to rage on for ninth position between these two drivers, he's able to pass him underneath that last pit cycle, able to get that undercut, that awesome outlap that 35 car did. But now he's got to reel in wet once again. And we know that 101 machine's really good at defensive driving. So if you were saddened by this battle going away, it's coming right back.
Welcome back, Cotter. Is Eriksson right back inside of a second of Jochen Wet again. Once again, a battle for that ninth position. Jochen Wet, through the pit stops and everything that has happened since, has lost 11 seconds to Philip Axelsen after Axelsen made a mistake earlier on, brought Wet right back into the fight. He has dropped right back out of the fight again. Has the 101. Possibly could see another pit stop from some drivers here in this race. But as far as the major players are concerned, the Jesper Erikssons, the Daniel Blomqvists, the Oscar Fredrikssons, those guys should be able to go the rest of the way without much concern. There will be a little bit of concern for sure. One thing that we haven't discussed, not that we've had too many opportunities to, one of the new updates to iRacing with the Season 2 update from this past Tuesday was that there is now a new fuel calculator that is built into iRacing. A lot of drivers that use the Crew Chief app will be pretty affluent with the fuel calculator and how quickly and easily it'll screw you over. Me being one of those guys that it has screwed over. But now iRacing has its own fuel calculator. You need to run a couple of laps in practice to make sure it's calibrated correctly. And then off you go for the remainder of the session. And that could be something that these guys may rely on here today. It's designed to give you one lap over what the projected fuel target is because of races like this, to where if Jesper Eriksson crosses the line at a minute 59.55, you have to do another lap to close out the rest of the race. So it has an extra lap worth of fuel built into it, but that is something that you can adjust to give you 3 or 4 extra laps of fuel. But that might be something that these guys relied on, or it could be something that it's new, it's unproven. Maybe we'll step away from that for this week.
Yeah, I think a lot of drivers are going to start utilizing that instead of the Crew Chief app. I know that for me personally, having a PC that used to be able to run Crew Chief and iRacing has since struggled with multiple applications running at the same time. This is a welcome change for me, being able to have that calculator right in the box and being able to move that and toggle that with my hotkeys and being able to toggle that the way I would used to do it during Crew Chief. It's definitely a tool that a lot of drivers are going to be embracing with open arms, I feel, in the next weeks and months to come as iRacing continues to innovate and make the racing product better so that drivers can figure out different fuel strategies. I think it's going to open up a ton of different opportunities for different drivers across many different leagues we cover.
If you haven't been on iRacing over the last couple of days, again, with that new season update, we saw the new aero and tire package at work at Daytona in the Thunderclap season opener last night. However, there were a host of changes. A lot more in the innards of iRacing were changed with this Season 2 update as compared to new content. Usually we're used to getting 3 cars and 3 tracks with each update. That was not the case with this one. iRacing deciding to forego new content for an upgrade of old, plus an upgrade of the actual systems that still exist within the sim. We did get some new tracks to say that, though. Circuit Jerez is now in the sim. Classic Formula One circuit. 3 cars were also introduced. Finally, the Renault Clio Cup is going to be in iRacing with the Renault Clio coming into the sim. The Chevrolet Monte Carlo SS is no more. If you had purchased the Chevrolet Monte Carlo SS, you got a free upgrade to the late model stock. If not, you had to purchase it. So that is a new car on the sim as well. And another free car, the Ray FF1600, or if you've played Project Cars, the Formula Rookie car has now made its way to iRacing. That was a free car that the sim gave away. So a lot of fun new content. And another, I guess you could call it, upgrade was iRacing. When the Season 2 patch came out, they effectively broke the ARCA car. RPMs went from 7,000 to 9,700. Top speeds went from about 170 on Las Vegas is where I saw a lot of the videos to about 193. Everybody on iRacing loved it. So iRacing proving that every now and again they do listen to their community. decided to keep it. So now we will have the ARCA car will have its own ARCA series in D class, but there will also now be a Gen 4 fixed Cup series using those ARCA cars with the format that they had used when the car had broke.
Yeah, super excited for that change. I think that it does open up the door for many different iRacing communities to use that package because it was so well received, and the urgency of the community was like, okay, we gotta do this and race as soon as possible before iRacing goes and fix it. And ultimately, iRacing says, it was a mistake, but it's a happy mistake, and we're going to keep it. And I'm really excited to see, especially here, right, at SRM, what opportunities it's going to unveil for us to be able to cover series like that. Something new for us. We talked about during the break, Frank, about being able to cover new aspects of racing, new racing disciplines. It's exciting for us broadcasters as well.
Absolutely. We're seeing, this is Lucas Holmer going around. This is at the hairpin at turn 6 a couple laps ago. Robert Eriksson going off in that battle that we've been watching here with Wet and Eriksson. Christopher Dahlstrand going back off again. He's already gone off here. Here's Dahlstrand. This is at turn 5. Too much gas too early. It's been a rough night for Dahlstrand. Another battle that is starting to get close. Michael Haflidason has been passed after going off track. He has been passed by the points leader, Daniel Holmer. Haflidason now starting to reel Holmer back in. So that 79 is going to have a battle for position on his hands here in the not-so-distant future as they try to work around lap cars. That is the 757 of Jonas Sjoberg that they just worked their way around. And now a half a second separates Daniel Holmer and Michael Haflidason for fourth.
Your points leader has done a really good job of being able to just have a quiet evening. I feel like we haven't talked a lot about the 79 machine, as now he's going to have a huge fight on his hands with Haflidason reeling him back in here. Let's see how aggressive that 81 machine is on this long sweeping zone to see if perhaps he'll get a good run off.
Trying to break that draft was Daniel Holmer down the long back straightaway, and we've seen through the battles with Wet and Eriksson that it's not easy to pass around here, and typically where the driver behind is faster, it's a very difficult place to pass, typically.
Yeah, especially if you have drivers that are really proficient at defensive driving, as Brunstrom is on pit road, as well as Selander, that is 6th and 7th on the field right now, currently down pit road.
Side by side going into the hairpin, Holmer and Haflidason. They get through it side by side. Drag race down into the next heavy braking zone. Haflidason's going to get a little bit of an advantage, but the track is going to fall to Holmer. Haflidason really throws that car in, and he will make the pass. So Michael Haflidason around the outside, initiated in turn 6, back up into 4th. Great move by the 81, sorry.
What a power move there, being able to make that outside stick. I'm sure that both drivers were holding their breath going through that side-by-side, but excellent racing by the drivers in 4th and 5th right now.
You can see how dark it's getting. Unfortunately, with this weather app, it doesn't show what time it is in sim. Zach, if you would be so kind, just tell me what time it is in sim.
I will be able to.
Through the
I know.
session info screen.
Yeah. I'm getting there. It is. Oh no. I have multiple overlays up, and I'm trying to see. I have overlays on top of overlays. All right, so it is 8:04 right now in sim time.
8:04 p.m. in sim time, which means it's probably in the middle of summer when this race is happening, at least in sim. But the point of that entire detour was look down on the edge of the racetrack. Starting to see some of those, I guess the technical term is, or not the technical term, the official name for those little things are the Dobbins dots. The little lights that you'll see in the lanes on the highway starting to light up the fringes of this racetrack. Hadn't seen that until about a couple of laps ago. It's starting to get pretty dark here. May not finish under total darkness, but it's certainly dark enough for those to start illuminating.
To our YouTube community that is currently watching, I just want you to know that the last 40 seconds of what Frank was able to say, I cannot fact check or verify. He could be making up completely fake words and trying to piece things together. I cannot confirm or deny that that's what those actual lights are called. I've always called them, just being able to drive out, and I've thanked the Lord that they're on the racetrack and or on my drive home, and that's pretty much it. But I've never had a name for them until today. So
I could have swore I had read somewhere that they were called Dobbins dots, and now you made me question it. Now I just did a Google search of it, and it's not. It didn't show up. So now I am questioning what I said.
See, I cannot, with any sort of authority, promise any of our YouTube community that either one of us are just going to make up any word at any given time and tell you what's what. So you'll never know when the next fake word will come along. I'm sure it'll be a time of merriment for all. So excited to jump back in the booth with you next week here, Frank, and make up more words with you.
Well, now I am kind of concerned because I remember reading that, and now all I'm seeing on Google, I'm not sure if Google's just dumbed it down or not, but it's just the raised pavement markers. I don't know where. Oh, they're called bots dots. That's what it is. Bots dots are the little bit the little metal ones. Mm-hmm. I'm looking on Wikipedia now. I've actually searched this.
The trusted name in news sourcing, Wikipedia. Yep.
Listen, man. Listen. Okay. Calm down. Let's calm down here. Yeah, I guess just raised reflective markers, I guess, is the industry term for them. This industry term for Michael Haflidason is car inside, as Daniel Holmer has retaken that fourth position.
Still fighting hard there on that outside lane. I was very impressed there at Haflidason, able to kind of defend that move, but 79 going to try to win it back here.
Well, he's going to lose it back again as Haflidason to the inside of turn one.
Great battle going on right now here for the fourth position on track. They're all chasing right now. Ericsson, who's way out in front of this contest, he's 27 seconds ahead of his nearest competitor.
While we were on that raised reflective markers side note, complete and total diversion, Robert Ericsson has found his way around Jochen Wet and is now 2.5 seconds clear of him in the 7th spot. So that battle has seen a conclusion. Just about 20 minutes to go here at Sebring. Jesper Eriksson out in front by 26 seconds over Daniel Blomqvist. Daniel Blomqvist has a second over Oscar Fredriksson. This pair has 45 seconds over the battle that we've been watching between Michael Haflidason and Daniel Holmer. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back for the conclusion here at Sebring.
Behöver du en bil? Mabe hyrbilar finns på över 150 platser i landet och vi har nästan lika många modeller att välja på. Mabe hyrbilar. Hyrbilar som passar dig.
Short break indeed as we are back here for the AMRT Grand Prix at Sebring. Oscar Fredrickson down pit road from third position. Michael Haflidason surrendering fourth while we were in break to come down pit road, which means these guys may have to top off on fuel here. It'll be a short pit stop, but these guys may have to top off on fuel to make it the final 17 and a half minutes.
Yeah, depending on when they cycle out of pit road, we'll see if they have a faster out lap. We got to see other battles on this racetrack resolved with pit road entry and exit lap times. And although they might not be throwing on tires here this late in the contest, it might be just a case of having some clean track in front of you, being able to lay down a competitive lap and passing the guy that you were once competing against.
You recovered quite nicely from that in break, I will say. As Jesper Eriksson coming around the final corner here, we'll see what he decides to do. He will stay out.
He could fit a couple times.
Yep. Yeah, the bots dots conversation came up once again during break. I could have swore I was right. I had an existential crisis, and the second I opened my mouth, somebody in the booth here, it wasn't me, so it could only be one other guy, started laughing hysterically to the point of tears
Oh my goodness.
And all I could say is I can't wait for Monday night now.
Well, let's not wish away the last 17 minutes of this contest, because we have seen that. Oh man, I'm gonna try really hard to just keep moving. We did see early on how quickly it can get away from some of these drivers, right? And resulting in catastrophic days for some of these guys at the bottom of the pylon. A lot can happen in 17 minutes. We've seen drivers make mental errors all by themselves. Could result in some positions changing hands towards the end of this thing.
Oscar Fredrickson was able to pit in second and come out, pit in third and come out in third. So Fredrickson doesn't lose anything. Michael Haflidason lost fourth position, but that was a position he was almost guaranteed to lose, with Daniel Holmer right behind him when he came down pit road. Philip Axelson is now just 5 seconds adrift of Michael Haflidason for the fifth position, and Daniel Holmer is 7.5 seconds off of Oscar Fredrickson for third. So those positions are up for grabs as here comes the race leader, Jesper Eriksson, down pit road with 15 minutes to go.
Jesper has been on it today in terms of everything past about lap 1, turn 1, as that front row did not get going here at the start of this contest. But ever since then, ever since he was able to recapture the lead, it's been smooth sailing for him. I'm sure this pit cycle will be nothing but without incident, as we get to see Daniel Blomqvist right now on track.
Daniel Blomqvist will take over the race lead as Eriksson still stationary in his box. Now he's rolling. So the 37 on his way out. He'll only fall to second. He still has about a minute on Oscar Fredrickson. As Jochen Huet, he is coming out behind, so he's come out behind 8th place. Still second on track. And now the question will be, when does Daniel Blomqvist come down pit road, if he needs to, over the next 14 minutes?
Wouldn't that be interesting if Blomqvist was able to, at any point, kind of conserve fuel? I doubt that, right? Because Blomqvist is one of those drivers we talked about that was able to defend well throughout this contest. Oftentimes when you're running defensive lines, you are racing an ineffective line in terms of lap time. So I can only imagine that a pit stop is in Blomqvist's future.
Now, these are just like Formula cars and GT cars, where you can turn down the engine to produce less power, thus saving fuel. Now, if he were to do that, he will have needed to have saved about 14 to 16 minutes worth of fuel, depending upon when he crosses the line. That, and he needs to try to preserve this 10-second gap that he currently has to Jesper Eriksson if he wants to take the win of this race.
That would be huge. I mean, I would be really impressed.
Here he
if
comes.
Daniel. Oh, there you go. Never mind. Just forget about what I'm saying. And,
don't be too impressed now.
Yeah. No.
It's been a very good race for Blomqvist. We're not going to take that away from him.
Absolutely.
The next
As we take
one
a look
up. Go ahead.
We take a look here at Daniel Holmer. Holmer is barreling down, trying to finish this lap. I can only expect that he will be on pit road here in short order.
He's the last one of the top 5 that has not come down pit road yet. Jesper Eriksson has regained the race lead. And where will he come out in this fight against Oscar Fredrickson? Blomqvist is out and rolling. And because of those couple less laps, Oscar Fredrickson, as we see Daniel Holmer in, Daniel Blomqvist was only stationary for 13 seconds. Compare that to Fredrickson, who was stationary for 17.5 seconds. Fredrickson now is 7.5 seconds off of Daniel Blomqvist, which means only good things for Daniel Holmer here, as he is not going to be in pit road as long as Michael Haflidason was. Haflidason was on pit road for almost 19 seconds stationary in the box. Holmer down and away after 14.
Yeah, 1390 here for Holmer is he will make the exit off of pit road. As at least the battles that we were watching, Frank, between various competitors in the top 5 is going to take a whole new different look here in the last 10 minutes of this contest.
And there's Daniel Holmer. He was behind Michael Haflidason by about a second. He has now flipped that into a 3-second advantage over Michael Haflidason with 11 minutes to go. It's going to need to be a very quick recovery for Haflidason if he wants to get that 4th spot back.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think that'll be the battle that we focus on as this one winds down. Can the 81 machine reel him back in? It's going to take a giant effort in these last 10 minutes to make that happen for the position switch, because it is one thing, as we talked about earlier, Frank, it's one thing to catch up to a guy. It's a whole nother deal to pass him here around Sebring.
And once again, we're with 10 minutes to go. Worth reminding, if your first time watching here this series or any timed race on iRacing, it goes to time. So if the leader is in the middle of the lap when the 2-hour time limit expires, that will be the final lap. It's not like motocross where it's a lap plus 1. So the race ends on the lap that the time expires.
As you see on timing and scoring, Sebastian Magnussen down pit road, and Born Bronston down pit road as well. Taking a peek down further on the charts, making their final stops for the night.
Alexander Olsen, Marcus Stiller, done for the evening. Stiller's not quite done yet. He's been on pit road for 1 hour and 34 minutes repairing that car. He is ahead of Alexander Olsen right now as far as the standings goes. However, he does not have a chance to get a little bit higher. 22nd position is about 35 laps beyond his reach. As Oscar Fredriksson coming back in again. Did Fredriksson underfuel that car?
It might have been, but as you talked about earlier, Frank, he was on pit road for a significant amount of time the last time around. It's not like he had a 14-second pit stop like Holmer did. So, interesting. He probably underfueled it.
He either underfueled it or he's hit an incident limit, which is forcing him to come back down pit road again for a penalty. So those are two. I think the second one's a little bit more likely than the first. Yeah, he's down for 27 seconds. This is a penalty that he's serving. And with that being a penalty that he is serving, look who goes flashing by. That is Daniel Holmer and Michael Haflidason. Both go flashing by Oscar Fredriksson, who is still not done serving this penalty.
So now we will have a battle for a position on the podium in the last 8 minutes, in the last 7 minutes, rather, of this contest between Holmer and Haflidason.
See, Oscar Fredriksson still not rolling. I'm starting to think now that this might not be a penalty, that this might be an outside issue here. He had something that he had to deal with, forcing him to stop. He's now lost positions to Linus Broström and Philip Axelsen, so Fredriksson surrendering 3rd position and falling down to 7th at the moment. So
now you really have to hunker down here if you're Holmer Kinda didn't expect this. A podium opportunity for the points leader in that 79 machine. What a great day it would be for him. Had a quiet day. And ultimately is in a position now to stand on one of the top 3 finishing boxes.
Absolutely. 2.5 seconds. So Haflidason has closed up a little bit here on this lap. As more guys are coming in to serve penalties here later on in this race. Oscar Fredrickson still on pit road. So yeah, that's leaning more credibility to the fact that something has taken him away from the sim. I hope everything is okay. Hope all is good. But unfortunate timing coming down within the last 10 minutes and giving away a podium spot. So he didn't go off. We didn't see any damage on that car.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean he's kept it very, fairly clean. Fredrickson has this evening, and kind of have to wonder if that is an extracurricular absence due to something outside of the sim. So, Ericsson, a big wiggle there through the S's. Big moment for him, but when you're 27 seconds ahead of the rest of the field, I guess you can afford to do that, but don't want to make a habit out of that here.
Jesper Eriksson has been incredibly quick, not just here tonight, managing the gap between himself and Daniel Blomqvist. It's been around 26 seconds for the better part of an hour now. But if you look over on the Cup side, he has been unbelievably good over there. 3 wins, 3 second-place finishes, and 2 third-place finishes over 12 starts over on the Cup side. Winner of the regular season championship by 7 points over Linus Broström. He will lead the charge into the playoffs starting next week from the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. In the GT3 season earlier on this year, took a win in the endurance portion at Imola. Also winner of one of the 3 heats at Fuji. Coming away with a second place finish in points there. 200 points behind Sam Hammarstedt, who had one heck of a season, winning 7 races between the feature and the sprints. And now here, looking well on his way to winning his first race this season in the prototypes. It has been one heck of a run for Jesper Eriksson here tonight.
Yeah, certainly the class of the field, been able to hit his marks, hit them effectively throughout the duration of this one. Nobody's been close, as Eriksson's been putting on a clinic for this entire contest. The only mistake he's really made was the start of this contest, where both drivers, I think, played a little bit of cat and mouse with one another, jumbled up a lot of the field, caused a huge turn 1 incident involving a number of competitors, but he rebounded very well, was able to make quick work of the competitors in front of him, recapture the lead very early on, and has not looked back ever since. He has done an excellent job keeping the car underneath him.
Eriksson took pole by about a 10th over Michael Haflidason. Lost the lead, as you said, on that jumbled up restart, or race start, I should say. Took the lead back from Melvin Atkinson at about the 7-minute mark and has been gone and away the rest of the way. Here's a battle for position. It is not the battle for the podium spot. It is a battle for 7th. Robert Eriksson has caught up with Andre Solander, who has been pretty well on his own here for a vast majority of this race has Selander. Now having to deal with Ericsson here in the last couple of minutes.
Yeah, he's probably kicking himself, right? Where you go, man, I've been all by myself for about the better part of 2 hours. In the last 2 minutes of this thing, now I got to deal with competition behind him. And Ericsson's no slouch. We've talked about how he's been trying to get by wet for quite some time. Has done that a little while ago, and is now taking the fight here to Selander. Now this is a battle for seventh.
Nighttime really starting to set in now, as it is noticeably the darkest it has been here tonight. And boy, what a run from Ericsson there out of turn number 1, going around the outside in turn 3. Track will fall his way. More door-to-door contact. Robert Ericsson tries to get on the gas and ends up losing the back end. Big defense there for Selander. He should have one more lap, possibly, to have to fight.
Wow, what a battle between those two, and one of the more technical parts of the circuit. And they did lean on one another, Frank. You captured that really well. Being able to kind of lean on each other's doors and use each other up, and they're still straight.
10 seconds left to go here. Watch out as Ericsson around the outside. Ericsson, they're still side by side, but will go now to the front. Jesper Ericsson wins the AMRT Grand Prix here at Sebring, meaning that this battle here between Selander and Ericsson, this is it. Not going to be another lap.
Barreling down now. Here we go. Another heavy braking zone. These two side by side. What a battle we got going on back here.
One last chance for Robert Ericsson to take this race win. Selander trying to break the draft. And it looks like he's done so successfully, at least for the moment. 0.4 of a second between the two. Boy, these two put on one heck of a fight on this final lap. Boy, look at Ericsson. He's going to loop it, trying to go for the spot. He's going to keep it straight enough, though. Here's Jochen Wet. He is not in danger, as Ericsson went for broke in that final corner and ended up broke.
No worse for wear. I mean, what a great effort, though. Probably gauged the risk behind him, said, I'm not in danger of losing another spot.
Me as well, yep.
What an effort there. Great contest by both of those guys. Daniel Holmer here, making his way around the circuit. An unexpected podium for Holmer today, as the top 3 was pretty much set here, Frank, until the last 10 minutes of this contest.
Yeah, Holmer was running around 7th, 8th all race long, and then the last hour started to make his way up as drivers in front of him made mistakes. Ended up getting past Michael Haflidason on pitch strategy, and the points leader comes away with a big points haul, as that will do it here tonight officially from Sebring International Raceway. And we will now start to work our way into getting interviews. Zach, you are with our race winner, Jesper Ericsson.
Jesper, this is Zach up in the booth. You dominated tonight's contest, winning by about 26 seconds and some change. What about Sebring brings out the best in you?
To be honest, I have no idea. It's not really a track that I enjoy driving on, so I have no idea. But I usually am quite good at technical tracks, which Sebring is. So maybe that. I have no idea.
Well, certainly you were the class of the field today. Kind of explain for us here in the booth, this was not without incident for you, because that start to this race was about as chaotic as it gets. You had some drama there on the front row coming to the green flag to start. What happened between the front row today that caused all that?
To be honest, I was just not expecting the green flag to fly that early. I got surprised, like, oh shit, it's green flag, I need to go. But I was going to wait for the start finish line, but apparently I couldn't do that, so that's why. Well,
you certainly put on a great show tonight. We were able to marvel about how far you were ahead of the rest of the field. Now, looking forward into this season, we're just over halfway here in our coverage for you guys here. And what about the rest of the season is exciting for you? You pick up a win here, a lot of momentum now. Taking a look forward to the rest of the season. What excites you moving forward?
To be honest, the tracks. The tracks moving forward, I really enjoy. It's Road Plant, which is also a technical track. Really enjoy driving there. Then I know it's Indy, which is not really a technical track, but it's a fun track just to go around on. And I forgot what the last circuit is.
Road Atlanta and then Daytona. Yep.
Well, Daytona isn't one of my favorites. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. It's a draft fest, which I do quite enjoy coming from NASCAR.
All right. Well, I'm going to leave this time up to you. You dominated tonight's action. Do you have any thank you, sponsors, or shout outs that you want to give towards anybody that might be watching?
Of course, to the whole team. Just amazing sitting here in these 2 hours with all of them, just chatting and driving. It's a really, really pleasant experience, which I really, really enjoy, and I'm never gonna get tired of that. And all the sponsors, Mobihi, Bilar, and Björn, for sponsoring us and making all this possible and enjoyable. And just everyone, of course you guys too, and the organizers of the league. It's just super, super pleasant, and I really enjoy this.
Well, that is your race winner. Go and enjoy it. You certainly dominated out there this evening.
I sure will. Thank you very much, guys.
So that was your race winner, Jesper Eriksson. We will now go to our second place finisher, Daniel Blomqvist. Daniel, a very solid run for you here today, and after about the 45-minute mark, a very quiet one for you. But second place, not bad today.
Yeah, it was quite lonely on the track. But I wasn't fast on the track, but I was fast on the pit stop, so something.
Well, you certainly were, and that was a very, very good pit stop that you had to get out a little bit further ahead of Oscar Fredriksson at that point. Maybe you heard, was there anything that Fredriksson said before he pulled off for the end of the race?
No, I don't know what happened to him. I thought he crashed or something.
No, he just pulled off, went to the pits, and that was it. But a solid battle between the three of you when Michael Haflidason was up there. It looked very, very difficult to pass around here tonight. What was the difficulties as far as getting around other guys?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, my first stint was all about fuel economy and get the shortest pit stop. And that's why I jumped in the first pit stop.
All right.
So that was my strategy, to just jump in the pit stop and then control the race from there, as I did.
Well, it certainly worked for you. And in 2 weeks' time, we head to Indianapolis, another hour and 40-minute race in Indianapolis. What are your thoughts going into that race?
I don't have any thoughts, actually. I just hope for a really good race and maybe for Jesper to crash or something like that.
All right.
So,
anybody you want to thank before we let you go?
All the team and sponsors, man. I've been in Thailand now for 2 weeks and haven't had any practice at all. So they did some help with me, gave me some lap times I had to push for. So, yeah. It's been a good 2 days since I came home.
All right, bud. Congratulations on a second place finish tonight, Daniel Blomqvist, everyone.
Thank you.
And now with that, Zach, you're with our third place finisher, Daniel Holmer.
Daniel, this is Zach up in the booth. You were able to secure a unexpected podium finish, given the late race drama that happened. But coming in as the points leader, you must be feeling pretty good with the podium finish here at Sebring.
I'm super happy. Yeah, it was a good race. The last stint I tried to in the second to last stint, I tried to save as much tires as I could, and not fighting Michael Haflidason that much. So yeah, it's paid out. Took P3, second podium for the season. Yeah, nice.
Well, halfway through this season, you are now sporting an excellent first half of this season. What about the back half of this season is exciting for you as a driver?
Yeah, now that my favorite tracks are coming up, so yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
That's awesome. Well,
Yeah.
You you certainly were fun to watch up here in the booth. Got a lot of screen time today as we covered your march through the. You put on a bit of a show today. You marched your way through the field and put on a good show for us, and ultimately come home with the podium finish. So, do you have any thank yous or sponsors or shout outs that you want to give here tonight, coming off of a podium effort here at Sebring?
Yeah, of course, my team, Bright Esports, and our sponsors, Picked Last, Oil Drinks, and the man that makes this car go so fast, Trash Car Customs. Yeah. And, of course, Boxbollen.
All right. Well, hey, this is your third place finisher, Daniel Holmer, and go and enjoy it.
Thank you.
All right, so that was Daniel Holmer and Zach. Thank you very much for joining me here tonight. It's been quite an adventure here at Sebring, and we saw a very good race with action all throughout.
Yes, it was a lot of fun being able to cover these drivers that had to learn on the fly here very early on how to evade other people. And ultimately, it turned into a great 2-hour event here at Sebring with a lot of drivers putting on a great show.
It absolutely did. And we will now take a look here at the final results here for tonight's race. Your race winner, Jesper Eriksson, his first go this season in these cars, taking the race win. Daniel Blomqvist and Daniel Holmer, we've heard from those three. Michael Haflidason and Linus Brostrom rounding out your top 5. Philip Axelson, Andre Solander, Robert Eriksson, Jochen Wett, and Marcus Hagman, your top 10. Sebastian Magnussen, Jonas Sjoberg, Oscar Fredriksson, Heflidi Johansson, Melvin Ackerson, Bjorn Brostrom, Victor Hammerstrom, Lucas Holmer, and Jonas Gunnarsson, and Pontus Nordgren, your top 20. Philip York, Christopher Dahlstrand, Alexander Olsen, and Marcus Stiller, your finishing order here tonight from Sebring International Raceway. So for my broadcast partner, Zach Woods, thank you very much again. I am Frank Marchese. We will see you next week when we begin the Cup playoffs here for the Svenska eRacingligan at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Same time right here on Sim Racing Media. Good night, everybody.